Oh,
Well,
Papa Smithy just announced that he's leaving 100 Thieves.
Well, that's a bit of an overreaction. I know they were pretty shit at Worlds, but like, come on, don't just give up on it. All right, you mean just leaving the team? Yeah, fair enough. Here's the thing, though. I thought he was good.
You guys.
Wasn't it implied at one point, by the way, a month ago or something? Wasn't it implied they were going to join like Team Liquid at some point? Wasn't that like actually news that was some rumor or something?
I mean,
I think it was rumored, right?
Yeah, definitely a possibility. We talked about on the show, like it would be a good fit probably, for Team Liquid, but he says...
Seems like it's not happening apparently, but yeah.
He says, after multiple rounds of talks with management before Worlds, it was clear that the shared vision of the kind of League of Legends program we wanted to build together in 2019 no longer fit the goals and aspirations of 100 Thieves for 2023. Ultimately, this meant supporting our LCS teams through Worlds and then going our separate ways. In competitive sports, you are rarely able to move on from a project with your head held high. In this case, 18th month run of success, which is true. All those finals that he appeared in. Let's see here. He says he's most proud of the depth of the League of Legends program that they were able to build. Champions are finalists at LCS Academy and amateur level. I mean, they did a very robust system that they built out. Yep. And he's looking for his next project within esports. So
all I'm going to say is this:
come back to the LCK.
Bring him to LEC. Bring him to LEC.
Actually, yeah.
Get a team, put him on. I think all the money in the LEC now, bring Papa Smithy over. He's done a good job. People don't know. One thing I appreciate about the way he built the 100 Thieves is a bit like how Rogue got their way to the top. They didn't do it in one go. Each split, they brought in a different piece that was slightly better, and gradually they got it up, and then eventually they became a championship team. Same thing there. Everyone remembers, everyone was laughing at him with the Rioma thing, and he had to swap Rioma in and out, and someday who was like one of the best players had to go into the academy. Like, that all looked stupid until you saw all the sort of puzzle pieces come together. So I thought he did a killer job. That's why when I heard that story, Monte, he was going to Team Liquid, I thought that'd be a good pickup. If anything, you've shown actually that with the most money, you haven't put together a good roster. So bring in someone who sort of knows what they're doing. By the way, I read the way that was phrased, Monte, like the phrasing of like because that's the classic thing. If basically, guys, here's the translation. If you don't agree with what's going on, like for example, they're like, yeah, we're going to slash our budget in half. You go, we had a difference in vision as to where we saw the directions of the organization go. Like, yeah, no shit. Like you were leaving. That's the problem. Like, because in this case, that sounds to me like is the budget's going to be slashed, and maybe they go back a level or something,
I mean, I don't know how many different ways you could interpret that, right? Because he specifically says that they're changing directions from the vision they wanted to go with in 2019. And so for those of you who don't know, what vision do they want to go with in 2019? Spending a bunch of money to become a championship roster, to develop the programs he's talking about. They very specifically developed like high school students into like the amateur scene, right? Into the challenger scene, into LCS players. That has been their goal, and they've sent players to other LCS teams from their systems. And that's what he signed up for, because that's what he did and they did. So I can only assume that this means that they no longer want to support that vision and these programs. And it comes at a time where they've just gotten the Valorant partnership, and 100 Thieves seems much more dedicated from looking at the content they're creating to Valorant as opposed to their League of Legends team. And I think that this is probably just another indication, as I have told you guys, of teams that are going to be taking a smaller budget route in LCS. And it sucks because there's a couple, both Papa Smithy and Deficio have both done, I think, great jobs of GMing.
Amazing.
And they need to be kept in the scene to continue to do a good job, because they are so much better than most of the other GMs that we've had.
Did you see in Deficio's tweet when he said basically about like what they did at Misfit? He said he was working with like the 8th or 9th biggest budget in the whole LEC. Well, every time he was in the playoffs, like this year, they were like 4th, 5th. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, what an overperformance.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about them, though. I'm just wondering if they want to... And that's something I could ask them directly, actually. But if they want to stay in the team, the team industry, or if they want to go back to casting and stuff like this.
Laure, I don't think people want to go back to casting.
No, that's what I'm thinking too.
just gonna say, like, maybe that doesn't have the most career growth.
It's not the first choice. Let's say.
Maybe they will. I love both of them as casters, but I know their reasons for not doing that. Not my place to say them, but I would be surprised if they made those decisions. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but if I don't know, if you take part in a project and then you have all these expectations, and then as Chris said in his tweet longer, that a couple of years later, then it doesn't fit the vision you agreed on to begin with. I don't know. For me, it's too complicated to go with what an org is gonna want to do. I mean, because there's no consistency in what they do every year. Like, okay, I don't want to shit on any team, but some teams in the LEC are gonna have an A plan one year and then it doesn't work and they shift things completely to. There's no consistency in what they try to build, and it must be so hard as a GM to just keep tracks and like try and build an actual competitive project because you have all these hired people to respond to and who are gonna split their mind the second it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that there are only a few teams that have had really consistent visions for around the world for how to run their teams, and it's been like Team Liquid, Cloud9, T1. Who else? I mean, I don't know exactly who among the Chinese teams because I'm just not plugged into the Chinese.
Look, historically, EDG has been an incredible
Yep.
org. Think how many years they've had like top teams, finals, champions. They've done it like a million rosters.
Yeah, RNG as well.
RNG is a great one.
G2, Fnatic. Like Fnatic is kind of janky, but they always manage to pull it together in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
So there have been at least like consistency throughout their dedication and throughout the processes that they've created to building these rosters that has made sense. I mean, even Rogue, like in recent years, they just don't have the longevity. They're much newer, right? So, but yeah, all of those teams you would say have had. I mean, Damwon as well, actually, since Damwon has appeared, has been very good, even across other esports titles, maintaining talent and skill in the other divisions that they've had.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.